Gayatri Mahamantra with your back straight, both hands on your lap, left beneath the right, in a contemplative mood. Om Bhurabhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Invocation of the Divine Master Adi Guru Muni Ved Vyas. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Deva Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Akhanda Mandalakaram, Vyaptam Yena Characharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Om Shri Guruve Namaha, Vyasrupena Vahayami, स्थापयामि ध्यायामि पूजयामि ततो नमस्कारम करोमि. Shrimed Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 9, verse number 5. Before I come upon the exact words of this verse, shloka, let me get on to the essence that has to be drawn out of this verse. And for today's shloka, the essence that shall be drawn has to be mentioned exhaustively, which automatically shall confine the mentioning of the shloka itself to a small corner. Unless we draw the essence of any verse, justice is not done with it. The study remains inconclusive, confined to the ambit of intellect. Whereas the purpose of study, especially with the scriptures of the order, like Shrimed Bhagavad Gita, is that it percolates its pervasiveness into our entire existence. Therefore, as the today's verse mandates, I'm using both shloka and verse as a synonym. It mandates that we mention about it in detail. Let me start it with an illustration and a reference drawn from Mandukya Upanishad, which mentions about the state of awareness. The state of awareness primarily mentioned in that small Upanishad, the smallest of all, merely confined to 12 verses. It says that we have a state of awareness which is Jagrat, when we are waking up. You're listening to me, I'm speaking. We are conscious. The second that we transcend into is the state of dream. While in sleep, we dream. The difference between both the state when we are woken up in the waking state and the dream state is not much. Given to the aspect of mere movements of the limbs, otherwise the body responds and acts absolutely the same way as it would do in either of the state. The third they mention is if we are able to transcend beyond into dreamless state termed as susupti. Then beyond that, the fourth and the last one is turiya, which is for the Brahm Rishis to acquire. Now, the essence of the shloka that we are going to take up today confines between the waking state and the dream state. As we understand that the body functions are absolutely the same. We are watching a dream. In the dream state, you happen to observe, I would say, a dream which was highly engaging. It could be something to rejoice or sending down the tremors of scare into you. whatever it may be, your body responds, all the stimuli of the brain and the entire system, even the endocrine system, it responds absolutely the same as you would have an observation in the waking state. Yes, I said it earlier, given to the details of the movement of the limbs, which also happens with few, especially the children, when they're fighting in the dream state, even their limbs move, and maybe with few elders as well. Having said so, the comparison drawn between the waking state and the dream state is, except the movement of limbs to an extent, it is absolutely the same for the one that is observing that occurrence transpire within in the dream state or without in the waking state. There is no difference. Rather, at times we have observed it that the occurrences in the dream state are so engaging that even when we get up in the morning, we bring forward the entire baggage, entire experience, entire observation in the waking state. So much so that it becomes very difficult to discriminate whether it was a dream or was it something in actual happening to us outward, without. While we were observing it as a dream in the night, there was no trace of it being an illusion. It was absolutely true, happening to us. We were in the midst of it. It was all chaos. We were in a state where we were helpless. The tremors of scare were running into us. We were sweating. It was to such an extent. And even after waking up, we bring forward it exactly the same way. As some of you, not all of you, may observe that when you work on your laptop with two monitors attached, you can easily bring, if the two monitors are attached to the same laptop, you can bring any item from one screen to the other just by moving the mouse, as if both the screens have blended into each other. Those who work like that would understand it better. And the similar occurrence transpires when you wake up after having observed a very scary or some dream which was highly intense to engage, and you carry forward everything. So much so that throughout the world, as I now can very well have established, and I can say almost in all parts of the world, in all religions, in all caste and creed, people try to find a resolve. First of all, they want that dream to be interpreted by a wise one. What does it mean to me in my life? Should I foresee something good happening, bad happening, or whatever, or nothing happening? Then they also try to find a resolve how to nullify, diffuse the impact of the dream, if at all any adverse thing is associated with it. So they try to find resolve with their consultations with the wise ones around. There are a number of books published all over the world who interpret upon the impacts of the dream, and maybe there are few, I have not come across, but maybe few who try to resolve the way one could nullify the adverse impacts of that dream upon your actual life. Now, the dream state and its experiences, they cast their absolute shadow upon the waking state, knowingly that it was a dream. While we were in the dream, it was all happening real. Okay, but now we have taken a leap, we have transcended into waking state. We are now sitting with eyes wide open. We can tangibly see, feel, observe things around. It's no more a dream. You can pinch yourself hard to find out and establish, even though the impact of the dream is something you cannot easily disassociate with. You really cannot disassociate with it. So it has been brought forward, carried forward. With its true realms, the dream has been carried forward to the waking state. Do we only watch dreams while we are in sleep? No. What about hallucination? Hallucinations are not observed in the state of dream, in the state of sleep as a dream. No, hallucinations is a daydreaming, even with eyes wide open, sitting amidst a large crowd, sitting in a bus, traveling in a plane, a train, wherever. You can still be an observer to a dream, with all its stimuli working in its own real proportion with all rationale within you. Acha, okay. Is that the only state of a dream? The state of dream in sleep? The state of dreaming it as a daydream hallucination? No, there is a third one, in which you're not daydreaming with all your mental faculties on, with all your wisdom on, O-N on, capital, bold, underlined. Still, there is another state which the people today observe, have been observing at times unknown, but today especially, when you watch a highly engaging television or serial, so on OTT, wherever, new platforms have come. New dimensions have come for the same experiences. So when you're watching a serial, what does it happen? You're absolutely in the waking state with all your mental faculties on, and at times there are interruptions of the true life that come in as a phone call, a bell at the door, or someone trying to mandate your attention around for something. Still, you are absolutely affixed, hinged to that serial, one after another. And that affixed aspect is to such an extent which can be understood today better. What is that? On OTT, especially in OTT platforms, there are certain engaging serials to which, for one or two, I myself is a witness, one or two, not more, is a witness that whenever they're released, the entire series is released. For example, a series of a serial is released on OTT which has got 9 or 10 episodes. What happens? I think you would endorse that to me, that people generally, if they have time at hand, are given to it as an oblation. Ahuti. You become an ahuti, you become an oblation to it. All the 9, like a bonded chain, they have to flow through your observation one after another. Maybe it takes around 500 minutes before you. And if at all you are not able to afford that much of time in one sitting, you have a hurry inside waiting to find the first interlude and accomplish by watching the remaining parts. It's a great accomplishment. You keep engaged in your true real life because you have certain responsibilities to dispense, but that deep hunger within that wants to devour the entire series remains suspended, and whenever you find the time for that interlude, I'm repeating so that the experience is better. You want to accomplish it because that's so engaging. So much so, the story does not end here. You may be observing to it since last more than 2.5 decades that those actors, characters projected into those serials, they become an inextricable, intrinsic part of your own life. You become so entangled with their personality, their individuality, so everything happening to them is happening to you as well, though inconsiderate of the fact that you are merely a witness. Do you remain a witness? No. You become a participant, a witness acting in the capacity of a participant. You're nowhere on the screen. No one is listening to you. No one is going to alter its dialogue. It's a response to the way you perceive within, because your mental faculties are individually trying to view everything happening around, yet you interfere into those ongoings within yourself, yet you don't have any impact there on the screen. Despite of that, above all, you are a witness in the capacity of a participant, a direct participant, a very intrusive one, to an extent that all those likes and dislikes of the characters projected there, which are dear to you, although everything is doctored according to the storyline, they are dear to you as well. Their dislikes are your dislike as well. Those projected as enemies with demonic face, to you also they remain the same. You develop a hatred for those characters which do not move to the liking of your main core characters. Core means the one whom you appreciate and stand by with. It happens to such an extent that you enliven within yourself the life which was projected on the screen. Despite of the fact that it was not a real story, right at the outset of each serial, it was well mentioned as a premonition that all characters in the storyline projected has no relevance to anyone in the life actual. It is merely pure incidental if something similar appears before you, but that should be considered as incidental. It is not deliberate that anyone's life has been projected there. Yes, there are true stories also that we come across. They also have their impact, which is very deep, beyond any doubt. But I'm talking about something which is pure fiction, has nothing before and nothing after to be connected. Maybe something in future if transpires, nobody knows. But on the date when it was released, there was nothing. Pure incidental, imagination of the story writer. Now, your engagement into that is also a state of dream, a dream state with eyes wide open, all mental faculties intact in working, yet it is a dream state of its own kind. Now, there are three dream states which have been mentioned over here. One, all these you will not find as a mention in the verse you are going to read after some time. The words of the verse, the shloka, are absolutely different. The meaning of the words of the shloka are absolutely different. But the essence that has to be drawn is absolutely the same. One of the same, because different people interpret different shlokas differently. Gita is dip in, dip out. The color you dip in, you can dip out, it becomes the same. So I would not say that my interpretation alone is the one. There can be 100 more interpretations which this shloka is capacitated to withstand. Now, in these three states, especially the dream state, you watch a dream, the hallucinations that you watch while you are in a waking state, and in being in absolute waking state with all mental faculties working, you become a witness to a serial which engages you, absorbs you, even while you are also doing or responding to activities around. In dream state, while sleeping, you don't respond to any activity around. You're into the dream. If there is a phone call during your dream, then your dream dissipates. It exists no more. In a hallucination also, if you're in a deep hallucination, daydreaming, something comes to warrant your attention, it's gone. At times it becomes difficult for you to recollect what was I hallucinating upon. Whereas in the third state, watching a series on OTT or any other platform, you are also required for a span of an interlude, maybe for 2 days, 3 days, in something else. Yet, that connectivity remains. It is not disconnected at all. It's like a thread which is so subtle between you and that series, unaccomplished series, remains, and it cannot be snapped by any kind of an interruption. So, this is the third kind of most powerful dream state, which I have mentioned. And they have a mention in Mandukya, not in the way and manner as I have said, but yes, as I mentioned in the beginning itself, 4 states, namely Jagrita, Swapna, Susupti, Turiya as well, but Turiya does not find its term in the Mandukya Upanishad. It's a reference drawn from some other Upanishad, the term Turiya. The terms mentioned are only Jagrat, Swapna, Susupti, and an indication to the Turiya in Mandukya Upanishad. Now, the interesting part is we have understood the realism between the true life that we live with all sensorial drivers in full activity and the dream that we observe with all sensorial drivers in function and the impact it has upon us. We have understood so far. Now the scripture mentions, as I said, it is the essence drawn from the verse you're studying, not the exactness of the words that you shall be studying after a while. Now the scriptures convey that the entire creation is nothing but a dream. I'm watching a dream around, you are watching a dream around, and countless generations have been a witness to a witness. Hold this word, a witness to the dream around, and for unknown times this shall continue the same way. We shall incarnate one life after another till we emancipate to witness a dream. And that dream has got all justice, all rational drawn for the tangible aspects in place. You cannot give a denial to something you can touch and feel the texture. You cannot give a denial to a fragrance. You cannot give a denial to a sound. You cannot give a denial to a vision, affront. No, you cannot. All these sensorial drivers, when they communicate with you, it's their input. There is no denial to that. Although that we have now transcended on the material plane towards such dimensions where this subtlety has now exceeded beyond the limits of the sensorial drivers. And we very well know it according to the developments of the modern science, but everything is conniving in order to serve the limits and the ambit of the sensorial drivers. Anything beyond the ambit of sensorial drivers, even that science of frontiers working in subtlety like nanometer, at the scale of nanometer even, does not create any application. All applications are created to serve the sensorial drivers, because this alone is the ambit of the business for any human in a waking state. Scriptures convey all this is a dream. All this is dream happening around. Nothing is real. It is all in illusion. Although a correction has been made to it recently, you cannot say that the entire creation is an illusion. it would be rightful to convey it is a delusion. Delusion means something which holds its existence, but not the way as it appears. Illusion means there is no existence at all. So this all is a delusion. So all this is a delusion, is the scriptures that convey us. But do we accept that? No. Despite the fact that the science of frontiers since past more than 4 decades have conveyed, more than 4 to 5 decades have conveyed, that everything that we see around in the material form, its primary constituent is an atom. Beyond atom, vibrations or light particles, whatever. I leave that inconclusive because science every day wants to unravel something new. It renews itself. So having said that, do we accept that I am an atom? Do you accept that the food you're eating is an atom knowingly? No. Why? Because the sensorial drivers are indulged in such a manner, the veil of delusion is so thick that you cannot easily pierce to accept that everything is atom. For account that we have not seen an atom with the naked eye. You have not seen it. I have not seen it. We have heard about it. The scientists have been projecting, maybe at times some diagrams or maybe some image. But even after coming across those inputs, do we easily say that from today onwards, I have relinquished myself from that veil of ignorance and now I've awakened to a new realm of reality where I can see the atomic dance, the vibrations oscillating all around me? Can we say that? No, we cannot. A Brahmrishi can. A Brahmrishi, an exalted one, going beyond the ambit of Jagrita, Swapana and Susupti, is able to see the connivance, the matrix which is in play. The Leela, the act of delusion in play, inactive. They are able to absolutely observe that. And they become the true witness. Till that state is acquired, we all are witness, but the entrapped ones. We witness what our limitations exhibit before us. We are an observer to a limited capacity observant. We are not an observer of that order where we can go beyond the inputs that are being served to us. Knowing that everything is atom, vibration, particles. No, we cannot. We still remain entrapped. Whereas the Lord wants to convey through this verse, this creation is me. I've created it. See the beatitude and glory of my creation. I've created it. I'm not entrapped into it. I'm the creator, but not entrapped into it. It is different from me. You and me listen to it, and we shall have to wait for that moment till we experience that pervasive aspect within us. A while ago, while I was deliberating in Hindi upon the same verse, I conveyed it. The justice to the scripture, the teaching or the understanding, both, it's the same. At the end of the teacher or student, it's the same when it comes to draw the understanding of a scripture. It's no different. It shall always fall short unless you are a sadhak as well. Merely confined to the capacity of a student, justice cannot be done. Unless you embark upon the experiential dimension, you cannot observe even the infinitesimal portion of whatever you're studying in the scripture. It is necessary for you to be a sadhak, to experience whatever percolates down to your experiences based upon the state of your inner evolution, so that you can truly connect. Unless that happens, you will not understand what pervasiveness is. What do you mean by being pervasive? Until that happens, I am I, you are you. My physical body is mine, yours is yours. What I have is mine, and what you have is yours. Fair enough. But unless you experience even a decimated aspect of pervasiveness, you will not understand what is being omniscient, omnipresent. Although I said decimated, infinitesimal, but even that bit of an experience, which is not even worth mentioning, which is not even worth mentioning, but is enough for you to observe with a spark that something is there. Even a spark indicates something is there. So that's necessary. That's why the student of the scripture must be a sadhak. Otherwise, you're serving your intellect, which today may connect, tomorrow shall become oblivion to whatever it was studied. So, in order to pervade into the understanding drawn today from any scripture, it is necessary that you are a sadhak as well. That's where sadhana and tap come. Short of sadhana and tap, it will not, you will not marinate into that. So the scripture conveys the essence which I have conveyed to you now. Scripture means the verse under study today. Now we come down to the words of the verse, which appear to be absolutely different, but yes, there is a word in it which conveys the reasonableness of whatever I've deliberated upon as the interpretation of the verse beforehand. Let's come down to the verse now. Yes, it's there before you. Even in English, you can read it and connect to that. Na cha matsthani bhutani pashyame yogam eshwaram bhut bhrit na cha bhutastha mam atma bhuta bhavanaha. As I said, the creation does not exist into me. I have created it. I have created it. And see the glory of my creation. See the glory of my creation, that they all exist within me, yet I am not impacted by them. Because my word has not to be taken as an individual making any declaration or pronouncement, but as an indicative word towards the spirit of the scripture which wants to get communicated to us. So not a pronouncement by an individual. Here the I has not to be understood in that aspect. Be very careful about that. The word here, mam atma bhut bhavanaha, my atma. I'm not giving any other word to atma. I don't know, soul is a complete word to it or not, spirit is a complete word to it or not. I choose to confine to the word atma as atma. I'm not picking up the English word for that. My atma is the source to everything around. When the word atma came, that is why I undertook the deliberation beforehand in order to explain what the sloka wants to convey. Because atma is not my atma as the supreme, but atma equally is the same which is there in you and me. We term it in our own words as tiny God, but yes, it is a God. So if it is a God, the tiny God that I termed as Atma, here it says Meri Atma, my Atma. Who is saying? The scripture is conveying it to us. The cosmic source is conveying it down to us. Its own mandate is being conveyed to us, that it creates everything. The moment we translate it upon our own self as an Atma, though we have not realized as an Atma, but the exalted ones, they realize themselves as Atma. And the moment they resolve, the moment they experience themselves an Atma, their pervasiveness acquires a dimension of a Brahma Rishi. They become the co-creator. They acquire the capacity of a creator. They rise above the interplay, the entire connivance of the nature. They become the co-creator. So if I also am an Atma, the unrealized one, I mean, I am not a realized one. Atma is there within me, which is realized. Let me also understand that everything happening around me is a dream. Me and Atma, me, again, it's an indicative word. Atma has no name. It's an indicator, only an indication to indicate something like this, that. Me as an Atma, the moment I shall acquire that status of Atma Sakshatkar, realize my true existence, the moment I realize my true existence, my existence shall be able to understand the true aspects of being a witness. So far, I have the capacity of a witness, but which is entrapped. An entrapped witness. I am given to witness only whatever my confinement served to me. But then when I will become the pure witness, Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha, Nitya Mukta, the liberated one, in that capacity of my witness, I again is indicator, shall be able to observe through my pervasiveness that through me there is a charge of a current which is termed as prana. Through me there is a charge of a current known as prana, which in actual vibrates to, I'm using these words gathered from surrounds so that I can express. I release a current, my being presence, my presence releases a current, the prana, which further acquires its manifestation into the form of different existence, different forms of existence. So it's the current in dance. It is the current which is dancing, the prana which is dancing. Until the extent this prana is disturbed, then dance, the veil of this delusion shall remain intact, appear to be real, true. But the moment this current, the flow of this current is brought in order, like in a laser, they give an order to the particles of light. What's the difference between any scattered form of light and laser? The laser is in order. That's why the laser requires that ability to pierce through the metals even. So whenever the current which is emanating just by my presence shall come to a harmony and an order, instead of descending down, shall ascend upwards, a moment will come when I will become me. I'm using these indicative words. I and me, I means at the present, take I as the entrapped ones, the true me as the Atma. I'm just deploying the words to indicate. You can dismantle the words I've used anytime, because they're only like you create an artificial structure when you have to cast a ceiling for a building. The moment the ceiling is intact, the structure is removed. It has no meaning. So these words which I'm deploying as I and me are merely a structure. Remove that. You can deploy any new meaning, new word also for that. I have no bias to that. So the moment I will become me, the true witness shall be able to pierce through, because then I have brought these energies into an order. After an ascension, I have absorbed them into me, myself. Now, this is something which you have to understand at its depth. Like a spider emanating a net out of itself, conducting its entire business, and when not required, it shall swallow the entirety which had oozed out of it. Something similar happens when the energy flow, the current, the prana, is brought in order. It acquires ascension, and ultimately its impact is terminated. That moment you become the true witness, Atma. I don't know, with my limited expression, with my limited state of my own inner evolution, how far I've been able to do justice with the essence of this verse. I am ending the class of this in service to this verse, but with inconclusiveness that yes, there is a much more which you shall be able to acquire at your own end than what I have given you as my deliberation. More to come in the next verse. Till then, ओम ही सत्य है, ओम ही सत्य है, ओम ही सत्य है.